Say, kids, what time is it?
It's kind of like watching TV, but, in your car.
104.7 The Cave. Mike, the intern, Jay Stevens in the studio. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 176.
There you are. For some reason, I turn it down, and when you come in, you just turn it on.
Magically, I'm able to control Jay's volume with my mind.
It's incredible.
If you didn't know that I was powerful,
there's your
proof. Either way, we are Mike and Jay in the Dark Side of the Stream.
This light
the pick this week was mine. It was Jay's, I believe. And the documentary is called The Truth About Jim. It's on Max. It just came out.
What a creepy dude.
Earlier in February. At first, through the picture, it kind of did look like the Reverend Jim Jones. So I was like, oh, we're going to do that again. It was
the first two, yeah.
But it was not about him. The guy was actually a psychopath, just like the Reverend Jim Jones, too.
Well, I'm amazed you haven't commented yet that my hair is done. I'm looking beautiful.
Did you want me to
yeah,
comment?
I did. I'm looking.
Did you want me to comment
usually on these morning things, I look like a goblin or a ghoul, and today I'm looking actually like the sexy rocker that I am.
That he comes in, he gets his hair done, he puts the sunglasses on. Now I just see two giant light.
Yeah, the light ring is really weird.
I don't know what's better.
It looks almost like eyeballs.
Like normal, Jay, or with the
How
halo
can I
in your
cut
eyes?
That? Why does it go anywhere that I go? It goes. It's like the Haunted Mansion
the way light
statues.
Works, okay, light reflecting.
It's like the Haunted Mansion statues,
dude.
It follows me wherever I go.
How light works.
There. I'll sit lower. There, like a little baby.
How much time have we wasted messing with the way Jay looks in the camera?
Okay, you're welcome.
All right. So the documentary, The Truth About Jim, tells a story about a man who was so awful that his family, after he passed away, literally considered that he may be a serial killer.
Yeah, and
how big of a jerk do you have to be?
So his granddaughter, puts together a documentary,
and your ex-wives and their kids you came into contact with in a personal level, not in the community level as a teacher or an FFA guy.
He was a weird dude. I think he was a serial killer.
You think? Well, I mean, okay, Doc. All right, the podcast is over.
I'm saying this is the premise for the story.
Well,
the granddaughter's like, he was a weird dude. I think he might be a serial killer, and she put in a lot of work. Man.
Well, there were a lot of things that kind of led them to this, and one of the things that led them to this idea was the fact that they found this box of jewelry that everyone was like,
random one pieces.
What's this?
Trinkets.
And so
trophies.
We'll get to that in a minute. But again, like I said, how big of a jerk do you have to be to your family to where they legitimately think that you might be responsible for a series of unsolved murders that happened in your backyard that had at least 8 victims, maybe more?
Yeah.
You had to have been a pretty bad dude.
Yeah. I don't see anybody coming for you when you die, Mike.
He didn't have anyone saying, his family's stupid.
He was a good
legit,
dude.
like every time she'd call someone else, whether it was a family member or an ex-wife,
they were like, "Oh yeah, he was weird. Yeah, he was bad.
He did this, and he was into this, and but really for me, the hardest part right out of the gate was listening to some of these girls' stories about how he would treat them in school, like grading the way they looked in front of the class, bro.
It was the 70s. This is the kind of stuff I guess they could do. I don't know. It would not fly these days.
I'm not saying like.
Could you imagine your kid coming home and saying something like the teacher did this? Bro.
I'd be in jail for the rest of my life.
Yeah, there would be
no hesitation. Yeah. No hesitation. We'll be back. Dark Side of the Stream. The Truth About Jim on 104.7 The K. Mike, the intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 176, discussing the truth about Jim. So as I mentioned earlier, straight out of the gate, you're like, okay, this guy, not the best dude, especially in the interactions between his ex-wives and either his children or their children.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good scene. And time again, you could see really the painting of a sociopath who legitimately would go after these women that were vulnerable, that were fresh out of a divorce. I mean, he had a pattern.
And high school kids, he would, offer them a little weed, a little drinky in the jacuzzi.
It was really really tough to watch.
I mean, there's creepy cats like that back then,
Obviously, like you said, if that was the thing in the 70s, then I guess
like
that was
people weren't as
Do you
hip.
think, what always goes in my mind every time we watch something about a guy in this period, the lead and the gasoline theory, how there was a lot more serial killers and violence. You think this was a reason?
Could be.
Do you think maybe he had
he just sounded like he was kind of like, he was a fairly good looking dude.
Well, he's a former college football player, right?
Right. And
do you think that possibly he had CTE?
That could have been too, right? That could have been too. But I mean,
because
she puts a pretty good case together that this dude could have been
the case about what happened after, like from that point, but how he got there, because you don't hear any stories about like from his family or anyone that he went to school. It literally starts at his like adult life, right? Where all this badness starts. So that's why I said I thought about it when I was trying to analyze like how would someone be like this? Maybe they were always born like that, whatever, or the lead gas thing, or he possibly did have CTE and that just turned him into a violent monster.
Could have been,
and just exacerbated the bad that he was able to squash. I don't know, but that was hard. That was a really tough documentary to watch.
Yeah, it was a rough one, man.
I don't want to say it wasn't captivating, because it really wasn't like I wasn't like on the edge of my seat, because at the end of the day, it's all circumstantial evidence.
Yeah, but boy, she sure made a good case that he was that one serial killer, because the picture even looks similar. The rose-colored glasses thing, at the school, the girls went with him, the other girl didn't. Like, pretty sketch,
as far as I know, at least right now, I mean, he has been listed in, if you go to, for example, the Santa Rosa hitchhiker murders on Wikipedia, they do list a potential suspect, one being the Zodiac killer, another being Ted Bundy, because he was obviously active in that too. But they also have Jim Mordecai listed as one of the people. Now, and I looked this up when I was doing it, and it says the suspected killer's DNA is said to have been recovered from 2 of the murder victims. The DNA profiles of any suspects can be compared against the DNA evidence recovered from the victims. It's still open. So I don't know if they haven't ran his DNA against it.
Well, at the end of the documentary, right? Isn't that what she was
waiting for?
She did present her case, and somebody did listen. So,
but comes down to a little bit of money. I wonder. I'm surprised they didn't do like a crowd fund for this thing.
It might be going on. It might be out there going on.
Didn't we just do one about a guy that was hiking on Appalachian Trail?
I mean, you're deep in the Reddit community. Did you see? Is there anything about this where like any family member of Jim's or a friend of Jim's
they just came out of the open,
or just said, "Hey, you guys are wrong"? Has anybody said?
That's what I'm saying.
That nobody's defended this guy.
You had to have been a pretty
little
big jerk.
weird, right? Like I feel like even if like somebody was like, Mike, the intern did this, I bet you'd probably have a lot of guys come out of the woodwork and go, no, he's not like that at all.
That one of those guys would be you.
Of course it would.
We got to take a break. We'll be back. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The K. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 176, discussing the truth about Jim. One thing else I wanted to mention too was, and this is, I'm not victim shaming in any way, but his second ex-wife, the one that was like talking about how he would like to try and put themselves in situations where they would get caught. The one with short hair.
Right. Your parents are pulling up. Let's do it right now.
Let's get it right now. It's like, what are you talking about? You crazy?
Wacky, yeah, real wacky.
The violent behavior, all that stuff. Again, we're painting a picture here. She seemed like you would think that a woman that would go in a situation like this would be a little naive, because whenever he was talking to the last one with the hippier kind of ex-wife, you kind of got the idea that she was a naive individual, especially when it caused so much friction between her older daughter and her.
Yeah,
where she's like, look, this guy's doing all these things, and she's
once again, you know parent has failed the child.
And so but the second one, what blew me away is how she seemed to have it together. And when she got to a point, she even so far as went to get a friend to come sit down with her.
Yeah. She knew he was going to be crazy,
right? Because she knew he was going to be violent, right? And what's the friend do?
Dips out.
I'm not dealing with this, and leaves her.
What a crappy
friend. He turns
friend.
the table over on her, grabs the phone off the wall. I mean, dude, what a friend.
See, like I said, and nobody calls police. Like this was a different era. Yeah. It was a different era, man.
But again, oh my goodness gracious, like how this flies, that just blows my mind.
You know, people have evolved. You know, in the 60s, look at it. There used to be comedies about slapping the wife and stuff like that. You can't nowadays. Can't do that stuff. No,
man. I get that for sure. But
times have changed, man.
You would think we've done enough of these about serial killers to tell you the story of, like BTK, right? He was going to church, he did Sunday school, he had his own family, his kid was fine, never abused
Same with
anybody.
The other guy, the good-looking dude,
and then all of a
killer,
sudden,
dude.
Boom, he's one of the most prolific serial killers of all time. No one had any idea. Golden State Killer, same thing. Was
Ted
able
Bundy,
to squash it.
Ted Bundy, smooth, charming dude.
So the thing about this guy that gives me pause to think that he may be responsible for the Santa Rosa is that he was already getting his out through the individual terror he was causing in everyone's life. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to kill somebody. He was a sociopath. That is not, I'm not arguing that at all. He was a psychopath. But I think he didn't need to kill people. He just liked causing terror in the people that were in his lives. Every single one of those stories is about someone that is terrified.
Yeah, he
Whether
was
it was the kids,
he liked being a creepy dude, man.
His ex-kids, all those people, they all had one common thing, and he made them feel terrified. So maybe we can look at it and say, yeah, he could have killed somebody. But at the same time, I don't know if that's really where he got his rocks off. I think
don't know.
It was just the
way he took the son to that spot and said,
that was definitely a little suspect.
That's
too.
If you roll up to back to the scene of the crime. Like,
I don't know. Until they come out with the truth, who knows? We'll come back with our review next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. The intern Jay Stevens back in the studio one more time. Dark Side of the Stream episode 176. The Truth About Jim. You can watch it on Max if you haven't already. It's how many? I'll ask you first. How many broken one-piece jewelries would you give this thing?
I'll go 3.5. It was decent. Yeah, it was decent. I'm proud of the granddaughter for putting this together.
Yeah, it was definitely you could tell it was a grieving therapeutical thing. And that was one of my I'm not saying I didn't like it. It was kind of, there were certain parts of it, especially when they were discussing and going through all that trauma, where it was just like, I don't feel like I should be sitting in on this. You know what I mean? Like I want the facts. I get that they were painting a picture about an individual who could possibly be involved in some pretty horrific things. And to get to that point, you kind of had to tell the backstory, but I didn't really need to sit in on their therapy sessions. That was kind of where I was like,
but it was a good find, and it was a find that I led that from Joe's bad suggestion. I found this one. So thank you, Joe, for leading me to this in an odd way.
Next week, your homework assignment is a pretty cool story that they actually started talking about in Unsolved Mysteries. And now there's an actual documentary made about this. It is called American Conspiracy, The Octopus Murders. If you are a Unsolved Mysteries fanatic, you'll know exactly about those multi-part
government conspiracy theorists. You'll dig this.
Weird,
it looks like
the octopus, man. It's weird stuff.
I can't wait. I'm really excited to watch this one.
It's on Netflix. I'm excited about it. Watch it, and then you can watch us do this live every Thursday at 9 a.m. on Facebook or YouTube. Download it as a free podcast on our 104.7 The Cave app, or listen to it during my show at 9 a.m. or Jay's show during 6 p.m. hour. Either way, I'm Mike the Intern. It's definitely not Jim. That's Jay Stevens, or Jay Bananas, as we like to call him here in the cave. It's Dark Side of the Stream.
We watch documentaries, so you don't have to. Yeah,
we don't watch documentaries. You've been
failing the tag lately, dude.
It up every time. Let's do it.
We watch documentaries, so you don't have to.
It's Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave.